So I guess the first question I wanted to ask, in respect to the George Floyd incident that just recently happened and its outcome, and of course for your film Generation Utøya and the outcome of that with the terrorists, can you comment on the idea that there's absolutely no room for terrorism against humanity or crimes against humanity, and that justice will always be served at the end?
I think that's we are me and we have made this film are fighting for these rights. Right. But at the same time, I think it's really important to understand that the polarization in our society is about also some hatred, and maybe it's about social differences between people. So there are much struggle and much hate out in the society that want to destruct democracy in a way. So I feel that it's really important that every one of us every day are fighting for this free speech and democracy. It doesn't come from itself. It has to be a fight for every day. So I will say there is no room for violence and attack on people because they have another opinions, but we have to stand up for those rights every day, I think, as human beings and of course as documentary filmmakers.
So how did you know to pick the right time to do a documentary with what happened and in terms of this massacre? You know, a lot of filmmakers jump onto like a dramatic event right away. They want to make a documentary right away. You, on the other hand, you've waited several years to have this film brought about this massacre. You waited a period. Can you tell us why you did that and how that's effective for your documentary, of course?
I think there are different times for different reflections. So right after the attack in Norway, 22nd of July, it was a really dramatic incident. It was so much sorrow, and so the whole nation was mourning because it was the most dramatic event in Norway since the World War II. So there was several stories about the incident and how terrible it was. And there also made some documentaries about the terror attack. But the film we have made is more about when time is passing. You can also reflect on what happened and where are we now as people and as a nation, and of course the youth organization that was attacked. We wanted to try to grip how is it to live with this heavy baggage as a youth politicians and actually move on, which the four characters in our film have done, and then they have this sorrow in their heart and their body, but they have this bravery and they have even more strong feelings to move on and continue with politics. So I feel that we started filming 7 years after the terror attack of the 22nd of July, and we have followed them for 3 years. So I think time in our film is a good thing, because then we have this distance, we can see how it affected us as a people and as a country, but we can also have the bravery to ask the difficult questions, because right after the terror attack, it was in Norway, you have these roses in the streets and everyone was talking about more love, more democracy. And I think that was necessary at that time. And we had the Prime Minister in Norway, Jens Stoltenberg. He was also using his speech to talk about more democracy and more freedom. But now we have to talk about what happened and why did it happen. And this political polarization and the extreme right-wing ideas what does that do with the young politicians and with the Labour Party? So I felt it was really important to try to follow their process in their struggle for overcoming the sorrow and wounded on their bodies, and at the same time force on and move on with the politics.
So I'm going to start with Kenzie first, and talking about her. It seems that there's no measurement for courage, and you can't measure her courage in what she does and what she represents, and how she has defied the odds after this massacre, and of course her everyday struggle of being a part of the Oslo coalition there. Can you, and that she's not Norwegian enough, and as you've mentioned in your film, your press kit. So tell us a little bit about her, that courage you filmed in Generation Utøya.
I feel that Kenzie, she takes action actually. She goes out, speak to the young people in the schools and talk about what free speech is and how important democracy is. And she also, when she is threatened by in the social media and in the public, she actually meets these threats. She answers these messages on social media, and she thinks that it's really important to, we have to talk about this. We can't stop talking about it. We have to meet this hatred. And when we talk, maybe also we can understand why many white, actually middle-aged men carry on this hatred. What is it? She actually wants to investigate and also wants to open up, in a way, this difficult dialogue. So I think she's really brave, and she is also proud of being who she is.
Yes, yes.
She starts telling us about how she was as a young girl when she didn't dare to speak out. She was sitting in the classroom behind everyone and didn't talk for 10 years. Suddenly she understood that she had to stand up for herself and also dare to have this free speech.
She's such an inspiration, of course. Now I wanted to speak about Laine, who you took she's a different subject in the film, of course. People react differently to certain events, of course, to traumatic events, but you've shown that in contrast to the other two characters, two subjects, of course. So why was it so important to show Laine's story of how she responded to such a traumatic event like the massacre?
I think Line's story is a kind of the dramaturgic line in the film. She is, in the beginning, she's talking to a psychologist, and she tells us about how she was freezed. She was so afraid under the attack that she actually lay on the beach frozen. She couldn't run anymore. She gave up actually. But through the film, she's actually coping with her anxiety and sorrow, and she starts raising herself up. And she also run in the end. And she's also like, Utøya as an island is also like a character, because in the beginning, after the terror attack, you see that years goes by. You have the winter, and then you have the spring. It opens up, and suddenly everything is going to life again, together with Line. And then you have this different time of year, and then it's summer and everything have risen and they are strong again, because it's a kind of a dramaturgy that we are following this youth organization when they are wounded and are laying down, and then they open up and build the island up again, and in the end they are actually standing and are brave and strong again. So I feel Lena is in a way her story, the other stories are in her story. She has this line under every story. So I think it was important to have different aspects, that every character has something new to tell, and together they are this, in a way, story about raising up and moving on and continue as a young politician.
So yeah, what do you hope to achieve with this film in terms of, well, I guess we'll start from the country of Norway, of course. Like, what kind of what would you like to see happen in terms when people watch this film and how they respond to it? What would you like to see happen in your country?
Norway is a peaceful country, but at the same time we are seeing some tendencies to polarization and hatred, and it's colder today and it was actually 10 years ago in the climate, about how we speak to each other. So I hope the film are going to start a debate, and where we can talk about it, and also are not afraid of meeting these cold tendencies in the polarization and in the ideas that are in a way increasing about the right-wing extremism. And I also hope that the film, maybe in USA and Canada, will resonance, because I feel it's not only in Europe or the West, it's all over the world, especially USA. I mean, there you can see how the political leaders, their words mean much. It's about taking action. So if you're speaking up and in a way inspires to violence, of course the people will be inspired. And also the opposite, if you speak up for democracy, and in a way maybe also in this time when we are all suffering of the pandemic, maybe we understand better that we have to solve the problems together. We can't survive alone in our world. We have to stand up and build this society together. And I think many of those issues are in a way, they are belonging together, because the polarization is starting from some places, and the racism and the climate difficulties. It's about we are living together in a world where we have to share this wellness.
Yes.
And if we don't see that, I think it's about class differences. That is the most important issue to cope with today. So the social issues, what we also see in USA, I think that's the most important way to start on it, that we have to be more equal, economic and social, to also try manage to cope with this polarization and these ideologies, which is dangerous when you go so far right wing on left wing.
So this question is because is for the filmmaking process. So is there a certain film equipment that you use, or a certain lighting fixture that you use for the film that you found it economical, efficient, and you would highly recommend to other filmmakers, of course?
I think when you are a documentary filmmaker, you're always seeking, I am both a director and photographer. So I'm seeking for these best lenses and cameras to get these beautiful visual images. But at the same time, you have to be you know, you have to be, if you work handheld and you have to move fast, so you can't have this huge equipment. So I will recommend a lens which is called Sigma 18mm to 35mm. That's perfect for documentary actually, because you have this wide angle, but at the same time also you can go in and have some closer. And it's the cinematic lens, it's important because you have this, you can shoot in very dark conditions because it's so light strong. So the lens is perfect. I also know that Martin Utterbeck, which filmed Erik Poppe's film about Utøya, that film is actually filmed by one shot, 72 minutes with one shot. That was that lens. So that is a secret. So that lens is fantastic. So, and I will also recommend some wireless sound equipment, audio Sennheiser, and I have a small one here. This is where you can, when you are filming people and you are alone, for example, it's good with wireless microphones. And this is this microphone, and I have this to not to have so distortion on the sound. You can have this, it's a kind of a wool on the back. And you have this double-sided tape. So I can actually take off the tape and use it under the sweater, like this. Now it's, and I just take it under my sweater. And now you can't see the microphone. So now I have perfect sound without seeing the microphone.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. I love it. I totally love it. Okay, so what's it feel like to be selected at Hot Docs this year? And of course, what has the pandemic taught you about being a filmmaker? Has your perspective changed at all? We're doing things different, of course. We're doing online festivals now. So what are your primary thoughts of what's going on today?
Oh, I'm so proud of being invited again to Hot Docs with my film, Generation Utøya. I was there in 2016 with my last film, Brothers. And Shane Smith that invited us and the film to Hot Docs, he was marvelous. I felt now when I talked to him again on these tubes, it was too good to be back, you know. Of course, I miss the people because I felt when I was in Toronto and under the festival, it was some so beautiful audiences. They come and looked at the film and asked me so many good questions after the screening. And I miss that. And I also miss the lovely festival staff and all that were working so hard to arrange this wonderful festival. But at the same time, I'm also so happy to be there this year too with the film. So for us, it's a huge honor, and we love Hot Docs as a film festival.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This was such a great interview, and thank you so much for giving us the time and talking about your film. And of course, all the best of luck to you with this film at Hot Docs.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.